Happy Saturday. Welcome back to Use Your Voice with Michelle Mapenzi. It is Saturday, and I am so happy to be with everyone. Thank you for listening on Facebook. If you're watching, thank you on the other platforms that we're on. We appreciate the love and we appreciate the support. I am so excited about the guest that I have today. Special shout out to Trivia Payne and Trivia is Inspirational Radio for hosting Use Your Voice with Michelle Mapenzi. And today, my guests, we're going to be talking about recovery and healing. And I just believe they go together, right?
Absolutely.
And so we look forward to jumping into her story in just a little bit. Just before we do that, as always, I'm going to read an excerpt from Ayala Van Zandt's book, One Day My Soul Just Opened Up. If you know me, then you know I absolutely, positively love this book and everything about it. I don't leave home without it because you never know when you need some inspiration, right?
Absolutely.
Some motivation, just something to get you from one headspace to another headspace. And hopefully it's positive. And this book seems to always do that for me, right? And so the day I'm going to be reading from today is day 12. She talks about honoring yourself with choice. The principle of choice is the ability to recognize alternatives and possible consequences, thereby enabling the selection of that which is most desirable, admirable, and honorable. The ability to act in response to recognized alternatives. And why I think that is so important is because for many of us, it is our choices that are keeping us from things like recovery, healing, happiness, joy, peace. It's usually wrapped up in the choices that we're making in our day-to-day lives. So for me, the choices that I make become so important. And what Ayala says on the second page of day 12 is it's not that we do not recognize that we must make choices. For most of us, it is the fear of making the wrong choice. In some cases, the failure to choose is the result of the fear of letting go of the old for the new, the familiar for the unfamiliar. This is the essence of choice, she says, the ability to make our wishes known, to let go and stand on new and unfamiliar ground. What we do not realize is that choice is a divine teacher. For when we choose, we learn that nothing is ever put in our path without a reason. When we choose to follow a certain path or engage in a certain activity, it is because the choice holds a lesson for us. When we stand still, refusing to choose, we miss the divine opportunity to develop our intuition and obey the whisperings of our heart. Choice teaches us how to listen and why we must obey, and mainly obey ourselves and our truth that is held within. She says the consequences of our choices or our failure to choose teaches us how to live in harmony with ourselves. The self is always guiding and protecting us. It is up to us to choose to listen to what the self is saying. It speaks to it speaks to us as feelings. It speaks to us as a need to grow. When the pace of life and nervous habits force us to choose, we may not take time to listen within, weigh all the possible alternatives, and evaluate the consequences. Undoubtedly, these forced choices teach us that what works and what does not work in our lives. On the other hand, clearly focused choices grounded in self awareness and trust reveal to you the truth of your inner knowing. Your choices become your personal library of victories and successes, or the need to spend more time honoring yourself. All choices, whether forced or focused, resistant or courageous, will take you to a level of understanding that will ultimately affect the way you view life. We must be willing to make conscious choices. That's what I love about freedom, right? Because it is our willingness to make conscious choices. So, we're going to have choices are just tremendous. I know we're going to talk all about the choices that Miss Kaumba Yasin, who is with me today, had to make in order to maintain your recovery, to even be in recovery, and to begin this whole healing process. That took a choice or many choices. So before we jump into your story, I'll give you a few minutes to introduce yourself. Who you be, lady?
Hi, everybody. My name is Kaumba Yasin.
Yes. And Kumba, are you from Baltimore?
Yes, I am.
West Side or East Side?
West Side, West Side.
West Side certified?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I finally get a West Side
Yes.
certified? Yes. Yes. I absolutely love West Side. I don't have nothing against East Side trivia. However, I'm just West Side certified. So I'm going to rep that all the way. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Good. So I got me a West Side guest today. So that means we're going to have a good show. I already know. So you've been in Baltimore all your life, Kumba?
Yes, I have.
Born and raised.
Born and raised.
All right. And so do you have siblings? Are you the only child? You have siblings?
Yes. I'm the oldest of 6. I lost 2 brothers.
Okay. You're the oldest of 6. Yes. I didn't know you were the oldest. Yes. I knew you had siblings, but I didn't know you were the oldest. Yes. Oh, well, bless your whole heart. It's a lot of responsibility being the oldest.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm a middle child, so we fight for attention all the time. We fight for attention. The oldest gets all the blame, I feel like. How was it being the oldest child?
It was a heavy responsibility because my mom worked. My dad, my dad used for the. I never knew. We never knew that he used, but once we found out, I didn't understand why he didn't work, and if he did work, it was like here and there.
Mm-hmm. But he used what? What was he using? What was his drug of choice?
Cocaine.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But let me go back a little further. My father was in Vietnam.
Okay.
So he went through some horrific things in Vietnam.
He had more than likely had PTSD.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We don't talk enough about that, but it's definitely a part of the culture, and especially men from that era of time. Mm-hmm. We don't talk a lot about it, but they went through a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and had to come back home to families and try to live with whatever they saw.
Right.
Over there with kids and everything else. So you're the oldest of 6. Mm-hmm. Your dad was in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And so being the oldest child, how did you feel as an oldest child?
I felt like I didn't want my brothers and sisters to have to go through anything. I felt responsible because
to take it all.
So if they did something, I said I did it because I didn't want them to get in any trouble.
Well, bless your heart. Can you take something from me? Let me go do something and you be my older sister and just take the blame. Listen, I don't know if my older sister did that,
right?
But she probably tried.
Right.
Yes. Did you have to take your siblings with you when you had to go places and things like that?
Sometimes.
Babysit?
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. Because sometimes the oldest child have to do all of that. Babysit, take all the siblings with you when you're going somewhere, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so how, did you grow up in Baltimore?
Yes.
Okay, and you had your mom and your dad?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so at some point in your life, you were introduced to drugs and alcohol, and at some point it became, I'm just going to assume that it was recreational at first.
It sure was.
For you. And when it was recreational, how were you introduced to it? Or was that just something that people did back when you started?
Well, I started off smoking weed because I wanted to be accepted by the kids in school at the time. Mm-hmm. And when I will never forget, I was in the Southwestern and I bought some weed and didn't know that it had Love Boat in it.
What was Love Boat?
It's embalming fluid.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
was that supposed to make you like Mary Jane high, or
I saw pink elephants.
You were hallucinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So But I didn't stay with weed too long because my self-esteem was in the gutter. So I wanted to be able to say what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Weed wasn't cutting it.
weed was not cutting it. Not at
Weed
all.
was not gonna get you there.
No.
You were not able to step outside of yourself the way you wanted to. So was somebody did someone introduce you, or did you seek it?
I
Sought it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did. Mm-hmm. Actually, I remember one of my cousins gave me a suitcase and said, "Cuz, hold this for me so I come back from, where he was going."
How old were you at the time?
14.
14. Okay. So he said, "Hold this suitcase for me."
And of course, I wanted to be nosy, see what was in the suitcase. I opened the suitcase up and had all these little bags, and I said, "Okay." I knew that it was some drugs, so I took some out of each little bag and put it in a dollar bill. Because I used to watch people do that. And because I wanted to be accepted by the people on the block, I took it up the street and gave some to the guys on the corner.
Out your dollar bill.
Yeah. And it was morphine back then. And when my cousin came back, everybody was up on the corner nodding, including me, and throwing up. So he kicked me in my butt, and he was like, "Get your inside." So yeah. But see, it took.
And how old are you? How old were you?
14.
Oh, you was 14 then? Okay, all right.
Yeah. So I remember it made me feel like I could say anything, I could do anything. Like the low self-esteem went all the way up here. It was like, okay, this is for me. Yeah.
Yep. And so cocaine it made you feel something.
That was heroin.
Oh, that was heroin.
Morphine was heroin.
Oh, that was heroin that was what was in the baggies.
Yes.
Morphine at the time. Okay, so basically when you were able to take the morphine, then you felt alive. Was it a feeling of, because what I can imagine is that prior to that, you felt numb, but then this is the way you felt, and you were okay with feeling at that moment.
Right.
Oh, wow. That's something. Had you ever noticed that before? Like before we had this conversation, that's why you used, was to kind of feel alive and to feel?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So now you're feeling, and now you're able to say, and now you're able to do, right? And feel like you are Kumba. And that went on for how long?
I'm 51 now, so this has been going on off and on for 30 years.
But I think at some point it no longer made you feel alive. So when was the transition? When did you go from, okay, now this is me, to, I don't know who I am anymore?
In 86. In 86, I got my first apartment on Pennsylvania, Mosier. And
was it jumping? Was it live Pennsylvania Mosier back then?
Yes. And I remember going down on Emerson Avenue, getting back then what they call body bag, and I went and got it. And a couple of days later, I felt like I had a cold or flu or something. And I was like, told the girl living around the corner, I was like, wow, why do I feel like this? She said, you need to get high. And when I sniffed the dope, I cleaned the whole apartment.
You was back. It was like it did something to you. It did. Transform you. And you felt like you needed it.
And that's when I realized that I had a habit.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Did the girl who told you that, was she using?
Yes.
Oh, so she knew exactly what it was and why you felt like. Right. I wonder what you was thinking. You just thought, I just don't
that's what I told her. I was like, I don't feel good. Wasn't the flu.
And so after then, you was like, I'm not feeling this no more.
No, I had, at this point with the habit, I had to get it every day.
Because otherwise you would feel the flu, or feel sick, or whatever. Did you have kids by then, or had you?
I had one child and was about to have my second child.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So 86.
No, I'm sorry. That was in 96. I apologize. In 96. 86. No, it was in 96.
It was in 96.
96. Yeah.
So here you are in 96. You got your first apartment.
Mm-hmm.
You are feeling not so well.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody tells you you need to get high again.
Yeah.
You'll feel better. You clean the whole house.
I cleaned the house, went outside, cleaned up outside in front of the street, everything. Yeah.
You was feeling nice.
I was feeling real nice.
And so when did you look in the mirror and not recognize yourself? At what point did that happen? And why do you think it happened?
Well, I remember eventually smoking cocaine, and I remember what it did was once I became addicted to heroin and smoking cocaine. What it did was I didn't care about anything or anybody, including my children. I'm gonna say that. So I remember leaving out the house one day and going around the corner to get some more cocaine. My lights were out at the time because I stopped paying my gas and electric bill. And I remember lighting a candle and leaving out, saying I'm going to go around the corner to get something and I'll be right back. When I came back, I could see the flames on the side of the wall.
Wow.
In my apartment. So I went in the room, blew the candle out, and got high. You know,
the house was just on fire.
Right.
Wow.
My nightstand was. But see, when you caught up, none of that matters.
You don't be worrying about what. That's a small thing compared to what you had focused on your mind.
Right.
Yeah, that was a pivotal point for you.
It was. It was.
And so you had one kid or two kids by then?
At this time, I had two children.
Two children by then.
Mm-hmm.
And how is it being a mom? And because a lot of people like to say you don't care about your kids, you don't love your kids when you are in active addiction. Is that true?
I didn't love myself.
So you can't even go no further than that.
I couldn't. Yeah. You know, and let me say this. It's never personal.
Right.
It's never
like, oh, not you. I don't care about you.
Right.
It's whatever is going on in you.
Yeah.
At that moment. Because
Mm-hmm.
I hear a lot of people say that, you
mm-hmm.
know, people are in active addiction, they have kids, and it's like, you don't care about your kids, you don't care about, and really you can't even get that far.
Mm-hmm.
Your thought process, your thinking, your caring can't even get that far
mm-hmm.
because you haven't even started with yourself. Right. And so it's not that, it's just if I only cared about me
mm-hmm.
and who I was. What do you think, what pain were you carrying at that time? What was fueling that addiction at that time? Because I imagine it was some type of pain.
Yeah,
that you were
no
in.
doubt.
Or self-esteem.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. Because like my birth name was T.R.I.V.A. Banks, and when I was in the 5th grade, my parents changed our names, gave us Muslims' name because they were Muslims to suit our personality. So imagine me being in school and over the summer, my parents changed our names.
And you come back.
And I come back, and the teacher says, tries to say my name, and she messes up, and I'm like raising my hand. And it seemed like the children stood up simultaneously, started singing Kumbaya, my Lord. And I was crushed. Like, I was like, wow. So, and then we didn't celebrate holidays. We didn't do any of that. And like, it was like, you know, but let me say this also. I thank God for all of these experiences.
Yes.
Everything that I've gone through from a child up into the age that I am has molded me into the person that I am today.
Of course. I can actually relate to that story, though, because I grew up, my dad is Muslim, and even though he didn't legally change my name, I do remember having, you know, my Muslim name. And I remember going to school and not doing what the other kids were doing. And I think for me, what made the difference was that I didn't understand why. I think I could have dealt with it better if I knew why I was different. You know, you get what I'm saying?
Right.
It was just like life was just happening to me. And nobody really gave me an explanation as to why, right? Nobody explained when you go to school, you're not going to do everything that all the other kids are doing, and this is why though. Because I think I would have been able to stand firm in why if I knew. You know what I'm saying? So it would be like, okay, you can talk about me all you want because this is why I do what I do. But not having that understanding was why it felt shameful, if you get what I'm saying. It was like, so what they saying must be true.
Right.
You know, because nobody else is saying otherwise.
Right.
You know, as a kid. So did you experience that? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. And you felt out, you feel, or you know, I can imagine that you felt unseen and unheard. Is that true? Yeah. And so when you did use, you could. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. It's such an escape.
It is.
It's such an escape. And for you, it was an escape for 30 years.
Off and on for
30 years. Wow. And if somebody is listening and they have a family member or a friend, loved one who is still in active addiction, what would you say to them?
The person,
the family member.
What I would say to them is still love on your family member, no matter what, because there is a reason for whatever reason a person decides to go out, take themselves outside of themselves. It's just not because I woke up today and I just want to be this monster, you know. So continue to love on them. And sometimes people have to love you from a distance because that tough love. And that sometimes is what helps the person make a decision to do something different.
Choices, yeah.
Yes.
That's what may help them to look at the new and the unfamiliar and say, okay, all right, you know. But how do you love from a distance? What would you say? What could your family members or friends have said to you when you were using that would have made a difference? Do you think?
Actually, to be honest, it was nothing they could have said.
It was nothing they could have said.
Nothing they could have said.
So if it's somebody out there right now who's beating themselves up, trying to figure out what can I do, what can I say, you would say,
don't beat yourself up. Because when I made a decision in 2001 to get clean, and I stayed clean for 5 years. Worked at Mountain Manor with the kids and everything, and I had a situation that happened in '96, and I used that as an excuse to go back.
In 2001?
Yes.
You used what happened to you in '96 to use.
Right.
Wow.
See, because in like when what they say is pray, go to meetings, don't pick up, find a home group, and find a sponsor, right? But what I missed was to talk about your feelings and be honest about how you're feeling and not hold it in. Because what I understand today is going on 3 years clean is that if I don't get it out of me, it's going to fester and it's just going to make things worse. And let me say this also, for anybody that thinks that with me coming up on 3 years, or anybody that is clean, to think that for me using for 30 years, that sometimes I still don't think about it. I do.
Yeah, because it was a way of life for you.
Right. So now, whenever I'm feeling a certain type of way, I talk about how I'm feeling. I write about how I'm feeling. I get it up off of me because what I don't ever want to become is a bum again. Because when I say a bum, the person that you sat beside on the bus, the person got on the bus and they said, oh, somebody said that was me. I slept in abandoned houses, you know. So like the person that you see before you today is a completely different person. So like I do everything different than I did back then. And also I sit still even when I don't want to sit still and go through some different things to get to the other side.
To actually feel it without anything altering how you feel and what you feel and to what degree you feel. And that's when we're going to move into the healing conversation, but we ain't there yet. We're going to do it in a few seconds. But because I really want you to speak to now that person who might be struggling, right? Somebody might have passed them the phone or say, come over here and look at this. And they struggling with this thing. They like, I want to, but I ain't never lived no other type of way. What is it that you would say to them from your perspective?
Okay, what I would say to the old Kaumba is there's a better way. Um, however you're living now, you don't have to live like this. Um, like if I could pour into somebody what God has poured into me, it would be too easy. So what I would say is go into a treatment center. Don't worry about who's there, what somebody else is doing, what somebody is not doing. Go into a treatment center, focus on yourself, get what you have to get, and even if you have to go into a recovery house after that, because that's the choice that I made this time.
Mm-hmm.
I made a choice to go into a recovery house. I was on a 30-day blackout period, couldn't go nowhere, couldn't do anything. But what I understood clearly is that if I didn't sit still, eventually somebody was going to have control of my life for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't going to be me.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Your choices weren't going to be from your own free will.
Absolutely.
That was going to be everything and everybody making choices for you. So I'm sure, like you described, that you were not clean, you were on the streets, you were homeless. Where you and I met from a program where it was helping women who had been previously incarcerated. So you had been incarcerated before. I'd like to call it the cut.
Yes.
People call it the cut. You've been to the cut.
Grandma's house.
Grandma's house. Yeah, you went away. Go vacation. Grandma's house. But either way it goes, just being in your active addiction, the cost of it was your freedom, your life, your house, your home, your relationship with family and friends. Mm-hmm. It had a high cost.
Yes.
Yes. It's not just I'm doing this and this is what I'm doing to me, but there was a lot of people who were affected by it, especially when you went away and did time. And so moving to the place where you went into drug treatment, because now I'm getting to the healing side. You went to the drug treatment. What was 3 things you got from being in treatment, you think?
I think this time around it was to keep the focus on Kaumba.
And not other people.
Right. Because, excuse me, in the past when I went into treatment centers, I worried about what was going on with somebody else in their room or what they had or didn't have. Now, this time I kept the focus on myself, right? I, in spite of the fact that I did not really want to be there with a bunch of women, I knew that this is something that I had to do in order to move forward and
be where you are right now.
Absolutely.
And we have to be uncomfortable, right? In growth, right? And sometimes we are uncomfortable. I'm sure you looked around and was like, okay, this is a bit more women than I prefer. But you were able to keep the focus on you. And then were you ever able to get to the root of the pain that was causing this behavior, and to begin with?
Well, it goes back again to low self-esteem and trauma.
And just not knowing how to cope with it.
Right.
And so and when you were able to address that, did it help you to stay clean, you think?
It's continually helping me. And also another thing is forgiveness.
Oh, girl.
Forgiveness is everything.
Forgiving who?
Myself.
Yourself.
Myself.
Okay. All right.
And also forgiving somebody else, because what I understand today is that people have had to forgive me in spite of like what somebody did to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because look, when I was using, it wasn't a mall in Baltimore City that didn't get got.
I know, right?
So I had to change everything about myself. I can't go into what I don't do is I don't even test. I don't even play with it, right? Because for a long time, for like a year or two, actually it's been 2 years now, I couldn't carry a big pocketbook in the store because I didn't want to test myself, right?
So you got the smallest little bag.
Well, kept everything in my
pocket, so I ain't got worried about it. But that's the day-to-day that I think that we don't talk about. just how to get through that day to day, right, of recovery. And I know it's one day at a time, one moment at a time, 1 second. I understand that, but that's real life, though. Not having to change. They say people, places, and things, but that's a thing, where I can't even do a big bag because I don't even want to go in this store, because then you get to thinking, and you get in there, you get to saying, I know I could have took that, and then the prices that on things nowadays, right? I'm sure you're like, man, I could get it, but that thought process is like, no, and I think at some point you won't even think those things. You think some things are just totally, you don't even
right. Like now, if I don't care what happens. I don't care if I have 2 pennies to rub together. I won't go in the market and test the grape.
You just won't.
Because in my mind, if I get away with this, not get away with going to the store taking the people's stuff.
Exactly. And freedom is a state of mind, right? So it's what you think that's going to really, get you caught up. I would, if you will, or caught out. You ain't even got to do it. It's all about what you think in your mind. So healing has been a part of your journey now for 3 years. And I like to tell people, I know pain. I know pain. I've been in a lot of pain, right? Sometimes not of my own, right? Sometimes of my own, hand, right? Meaning making choices and hurting myself or putting myself in certain situations. And I know what it feels like to just suffer in pain and misery and don't speak on it, and allow the decisions of other people, places, and things to affect you. So I like to tell people I know pain, but what I tell people today is that I know healing, because we don't talk about it enough. You can go through the trauma that we face here in Baltimore, and I like to say Baltimore, but it's everywhere. The pain that we go through, I know what it is, but then I also know that healing feels much better. When coming through the pain that I've come through and dealt with, healing feels so much better. And I don't know if people really no, that's a thing to heal, right? It is a thing. Like, you can heal from past experiences, from hurt and pain. And so what was your healing journey like? What is it like now? Because many of us are still in our healing journey.
Yes, I'm definitely still in my healing journey. Because sometimes in my mind, I'll go back and say what I shoulda, woulda, could. Sometimes I'll do that because sometimes I live in my apartment by myself. Like, mental health is real,
isn't it?
And like, I will sometimes beat myself up because of some things that I've done in the past. Like, so, but then I have to check myself real quick, because what I don't want, what I'm not going to ever do is allow myself to get back into a dark place where I will come out dirty, using. So
you've done things to reframe the way I like when you say, I'll stay there too long. Because I like to say, you can be upset, you can be mad, you can be in your feelings, and we all got to feel it, but just don't stay there too long.
Right.
I think what happens is we stay in these places way longer than God or the situation even intended. But some of us just stay there too long. And that's when it really gets to seep into your psyche. And the next thing you know, you saying F it. I like to say we can rationalize anything. Right? Like, I can make it rational. I can justify almost anything. You give me time. You get what I mean? And when we sit with ourselves and sit in that thing and not speak on it, that's what I think we start doing. But when you speak on it, it's just something about speaking your truth that really can free you of a situation. It doesn't always change the situation, but it does free you. Would you agree? It frees you of the situation so that you don't feel like you have to respond in a negative way or the way that you used to. How about your family and friends? How they feeling about your healing journey and just your recovery and just, you being just this new being?
Now, for the most part, everybody is happy. But what I also understand is everybody's not going to be happy with the new me. And the thing is,
because the old you was convenient for some people.
It was.
Isn't that something?
It was. And for whatever reason, like, when a person is so used to you being a certain way. When I made a decision to change everything about Kaumba, what I understand is some people I had to eliminate from my life.
Yeah, because they just couldn't go into that new chapter,
Absolutely.
whatever that might have been.
Absolutely.
And that could be difficult. How did you deal with that? Was that hurtful?
Very, very, very hurtful, because for whatever reason, I thought everybody was my friend. Everybody like Kaumba. Like everybody loves Chris. Everybody didn't love Kaumba. And today I'm okay with that.
Ain't that a great thing?
I'm okay with
It's
it.
okay. But you know what I say, Kaumba? I'm so dope though. Like I don't understand how a person cannot like me.
Right.
But it's the reality
Right.
that sometimes, whether it's the way you look, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you show up, the way you people will not like you. And that's okay, you know. But I would just say to them, if anybody out there and you don't like me, I would just say to you, I'm so dope though. I would get to know me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but if you choose not to, that's okay too, because I also understand that everything happens for a reason, as Ayala says in the book. And so sometimes when people may not care for us or may not like us or may not even accept the newness in us, that's okay too, because everything happens for a reason. It might be a reason why you can't no longer have a relationship with that particular person. And it ain't just romantic relationships. This is all relationships. Did you have to learn how to have healthy relationships?
Absolutely.
What do you think is most important in a healthy relationship for you?
Good conversation.
Good conversation.
Time. Right. Let me say this. The most healthy relationship I have right now is with Kaumba.
Ain't that a great thing?
And that's because, like, I talk to myself.
Absolutely.
Everything, for the most part.
You praise yourself. Love yourself.
And let me say this, on some days I don't. On some days I look in the mirror, I'm like,
maybe not today.
You know, but again, after periods, I can't stay stuck there.
Let me get it together.
Come on, get it together, bro. Get it together, bro.
I think all of us had those moments, whether you're in recovery or not in recovery. We all had those moments we just don't like ourselves. I just had that moment when I was in Detroit. I looked at the pictures I was taking and I hated them all. Like I just was like, I don't like this weight that I got after COVID or during COVID. I was just like, I don't like it, right? And so at first it was just like, I don't even want y'all to show these pictures. But then I realized that if I don't like it, then I should just do something about it, right? And I guess that's what you meant by just like, okay, let me just snap out of it. At some point, you just got to do something about it. If you don't like something about yourself, then you have to do something about it. So I love your authenticity. I think even when we met and you were in the Pivot program, that's what I loved about you. It's just straight up, this is what it is, right? And I can appreciate that in a person. I don't like the hemming and hawing and kind of going all the way around the mulberry bush to get back to the same point. And I think even when you were in the Pivot program, if y'all watch the show, is a 8-week workforce development program for women who have a connection with the criminal justice system. So if you're previously incarcerated, if you have any pending or current charges, criminal background, any of that, we can help you in the Pivot program. So that's just a plug. But when you were in the Pivot program, you would say to me, I had to push myself today. And I always appreciated that resiliency, because it was just like you made your mind up. And is that how you have to deal with things on a day-to-day? Just, I'm committed to this, I've made my mind up. Is that what it is?
Yes, like some mornings. Now I have a home group that I go to. It's open Monday through Saturday. And when I do get up to go, I get up 3:00 in the morning, get myself together. I'm on the bus stop at 3:30. So that's commitment.
Yes. And what time is the meeting?
It starts at 7, but we have the meeting before the meeting where we cut up and joke. And
and then the meeting. And then you got to be there for the cut up.
I always for the cut up. I'm always down for cut up.
Yes. It's nothing like it.
Yeah.
But that's part of healing too, believe it or not. Believe it or not, we don't talk about laughter enough, and how music and laughter and just just those moments can be very healing. Love is healing.
Mhm.
Any amount of love from anywhere that you can get love heals you, I believe.
Right.
Laughter is something about it.
Right.
It's just something about it. I don't know what that is, but it is part of healing. So you go get your healing.
Right.
And then you had a
Right.
meeting.
Right.
And now that you've been in going to meetings for 3 years, what's the benefits? So if somebody's listening and they thinking about joining, what's the benefits of being a part of the fellowship?
Well, what I don't understand is that not just in when you sit in when I sit in a meeting and I listen to somebody else share, I understand that we're more alike than different. Like, and because there was a time when I gotten clean before and I thought I was better than because I got clean and I had a couple little new outfits on. I didn't smell bad, right? But see, when I did that, God said, "Okay, you forgot. Let me bring you back.
Let me humble you."
Right, right. And I got real humble. So like now, anytime I go to a meeting, I sit on the front row. I listen to the speaker because everybody that shares may not be sharing what I want to hear, but there's something in what they're sharing that I'm gonna get something out of.
Yeah.
Every meeting, or even once the person throws it out to the group, somebody else may share something. That's why they say don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle, because if I left 5 minutes before the meeting was over, somebody may have shared something that would help save my life. That's why I sit in the meeting the entire time.
And how long are the meetings?
An hour.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so you sit there, you get something out of every meeting. So if somebody's watching this or have a family member, you want to go because is this where you continue to get your strength in the day to day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because there's some people that don't believe in the fellowship, don't believe in NA meetings
Right.
and all of that. I'm sure you've heard.
Right. Right.
And so that's why I bring up what's the benefits, because a lot of times people, and it ain't for everybody.
Right.
Let's just
Right.
be
Right.
100.
No doubt. No doubt.
But it's the strength, it's the continuous strength and courage meanings, and it's helpful to your spirit and your soul,
right,
as far as healing. And it's healing and hearing other people's stories. That's why I did this show.
Yes.
You know, to bring ladies like you and other women's stories that people probably wouldn't necessarily hear because it might not make the news, or it might not, you know, even though it's parts of your story. I'm waiting on the book. It's parts of your story that I'm like, listen, right? Everything ain't for the radio, but just know in little that she did share that there's a story there, and there are many women who will be inspired by that story because they'll see themselves in you, even if they haven't ever picked up cocaine or heroin or any of that, but just the resiliency and the fight, you know, to stay, you know, in recovery or clean.
And that's one of the reasons why I write every day. I wrote a book called Streets, Drugs, Prison, and God. My reason for writing it is because there's somebody coming behind me that has to hear what God has allowed me to survive.
Streets, God, prison, and drugs.
Yes. To let people know that all these things that God has allowed me to survive, it was for a reason. And the reason being is for me to reach back and help somebody else without any conditions.
When you look back on all you've been through, and I know you've been through a lot, what was the thing that you, even today, you like, Michelle, wow, I don't know how I'm still here today, but that it still fuels you to say, thank God where I come from. I may not be where I want to be, but I'm definitely not. Is it something that sticks out that you want to share particularly?
Living on the streets like an animal.
Wow.
Like an animal, like eating out of the garbage can. Like not showering for days, maybe even months. And another thing, missing my brother's funeral. Like, because I wanted to get one more.
And you was like, I got time.
Yeah.
And then just never made it. Wow. What year was that?
He got killed in 2016.
Oh, 2016. Yeah, wow.
And everybody thought we were twins. But also, let me say this too. Also, I lost two brothers. My first brother that I lost, I was clean when he got killed. This brother that I lost the last time, I was in active addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted not to feel, I didn't want to deal with the fact that my brother is dead,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to not feel and not to feel, I just kept getting high
Mm-hmm.
and wound up missing his funeral.
Wow. When you look back, you just like, wow, I was really gone.
Yeah.
I was really gone. And hopefully that fuels you today and gives you the courage you need to stay, clean and in recovery and helping other people. That's the whole point of you sharing your story, to help other people. So if people want to get clean, if people want to get into recovery, where should they go? Do you have any?
I have a good friend of mine has a very excellent program. It's called the House of Change. The address is 5209 York Road.
5209 York Road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the phone number is 410 323 323 3500 extension 1. Again, that's House of Change, 5209 York Road. The phone number again is 410 323 3500 extension 1. It's an excellent program, and I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, so if you're looking to get into treatment for um, alcoholism, heroin addiction, cocaine, whatever you're doing, House of Change is definitely a resource for you to go and they'll help you to get into treatment. They also have recovery houses if you need a place to stay. A lot of people, that's the number one thing is housing. A lot of times that's what keeps them in the streets and keeps them using. And so if you do need housing, I encourage you to give them a call. Let's give them the number again, 410-323
3500 extension 1.
3500 extension 1. Well, thank you, Kumba.
Thank you.
Ever since we met, we just be hanging out,
Yeah,
don't we?
yeah.
We just be hanging.
Yes,
I'd be like, oh my goodness, come on through, Kumba. I just love your spirit. I just love you as a person. I love everything about your artistic expression of life on canvas and your song, even though I'm not going to ask you to sing. I think you have a great voice and it comes off so authentic and with so much passion. And I think that's what people really connect with. Right. Like Mary J. Blige, people connect with her story and her energy and her strength and her pain, really.
Right.
But I think that that's also what you bring to singing. It's just that authenticity, right? It's no way somebody can hear your story and not know, one, you're from Baltimore.
Right.
And two, that you didn't live that thing, right?
Right.
Are you going to be speaking anywhere coming up soon? Anything you want to announce before we close? I'm going to end with Ayala as well. So anything else you want to announce before I do that? No. Say thank you to anybody. Shout out anybody.
Can I?
You can. Anything else?
Okay, cool. I wanted to just 1, 2, 3, 4 things really quick.
Four things. You got it.
Okay. And there's a catering company that I wanted to shout out.
Okay.
It's Chef Big O and Wanda, and their phone number is 443-354-6145.
Okay.
And you can also email them at ladyt2331@gmail.com.
And the name again is
Chef Big O and Wanda.
Oh, okay. Chef Big O and Wanda. So they cater?
Yes.
They got good food? Ooh. All right. Don't be breaking them up on here. Ain't got no good food now. Chef Wanda and Chef O now.
Yes.
Send me a plate now. Announce you every week.
That's right.
All right. Okay.
And there's also these are Black-owned businesses is one of the reasons why.
Do you think?
Okay. The Evolution of Ellis Salon and Spa is located at 1429 Ricestown Road. It's owned by Shawty Ellis. Her phone number is 443-802-7438. And we have Nation's Best Moving and Hauling. That's my Tacoma Yasin. It's his phone number is 443-467-2322. And the last thing is Learning How Child Development Center, run by Miss Penny. Her phone number is 443-416-3900. And her summer camp will be opening June the 20th at 2509 Edison Highway.
So listen, Kumba came through with the resources. Now, one thing Kumba is good for is resources. She know everybody and everybody know her. So if you need something, how can they find you? If somebody wants interested in your story, wants to continue the conversation with you, how can they find you?
My phone number.
Okay. All right. What's your phone number?
My phone number.
You want to give your phone number or your social media? Which one? Or your email?
My email. Yes.
Okay.
My email is better. Yes.
You know some crazy people.
I know.
Okay. All right. Give your email, ma'am.
My email is KOUMBAYASIN7
Yeah, so if you're interested in reaching out to Kumba, feel free to reach out to me and Michelle Mapenzi on Facebook. I'll get you connected with Kumba. She has a great story. Check out some of the vendors she talked about. If they contact me, it's ways that I can actually promote them each week. Okay. So have them reach out to me. I appreciate that. Lastly, as always, I'm going to just close us out with Ayala Van Zandt. And she talks about the willingness to make conscious choices is another way of demonstrating that you are ready to find new ways of living and being before you are forced to do it. Because one thing about the universe, it will give you a whisper and it'll say stop. It'll say change. It'll say go that way or this way. And when we don't, we get forced to do it. When what we do, how we do it, and the way we do it no longer fits our purpose in life, it no longer fits you to be on the streets no more. We must choose to do something else. And you just had to do something else. It means we are aware of our patterns and no longer choose to embrace them. This becomes the choice to grow. When we consciously choose growth over stagnation and fear, the divine spirit of the universe will support our decision by bringing our lesson gently and lovingly. You know that what you imagine is usually far worse than the truth. Consequently, when you choose to know the truth about your strength, your power, your ability to withstand the consequences of your choices, it is never as bad or as hard as you imagine it to be. Sometimes we just got to make the choice and life just becomes so much easier. She says choice makes it easier because once you choose and see that things are getting a bit out of hand or that you are in fact not ready, you have the ability, right, and power to just make another choice. That's the good thing about it. Yes. We never have to stay stuck in any particular situation and any particular thing. We can just make the choice to live better. It's a choice to heal. It's a choice to be free. It's a choice to live at peace, harmony, joy. And I talk to myself as I have these shows every week. So I appreciate you guys. You help me to heal. You help me to grow. I will see you guys back here next Saturday where I have another special guest coming to share her story. Check Umba out. Don't forget to reach out to us. Let me know if you would like to sponsor the show. You can reach me on Facebook at Michelle Mapenzi. You can also reach me at useyourvoice@gmail.com. So see you guys. Bye.
Bye.